Two ignorant humans talking about stuff.
I hear all the time about when you have agents that get a little upset that appraisals come in a little low, right? And they say, "Well, I have 20 offers on this house, and we went over, so this is what it's worth." And the statement is, anything is worth what someone else is willing to pay for it, right? So if you have a pair of shoes that I really like and I want to buy them from you, and you paid $100 for them at the store, but I like them so much I'm willing to give you $500 for those shoes, aren't they worth $500?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the world of appraisals, why does that not apply, in your opinion? What's your
couple of things? An appraisal is that person's opinion of that property's value. Right. It is literally an opinion. We can send a appraisal request to 20 appraisers,
right,
blindly, like a refinance. They have no idea what the price of this house is, and you will get literally 20 different answers as to what that. Let's just say and get it down to 10 or 12. There'll be 10 or 12 different appraisal values on that. Okay, so it is an opinion of value. Now, to your point, I agree. There's a great story I heard the other day on Hair Nation, because that's what I listen to when I'm going down the road. I love Motley Crue and Poison. Lita Ford, in her song Kiss Me Deadly, the pants she wore, she actually bought on the side of the road on a guy climbing a telephone pole doing some work. She pulled over, said, "I'll give you $100 for your pants." By the way, jeans in the 80s were $30, right? And they were ripped up and whatnot. She gave him $100. You're right, Mike. In that instance, to Lita Ford, rock on, by the way, those pants were worth $100.
Right.
Unfortunately, in our business, sometimes, Mike, and feel free to use this, you can take common sense and wad it up in a ball and throw it away, because we are governed by guidelines. And I'll bring up a quick topic of who oversees appraisals. And this is hilarious because it's obviously a funny version of how appraisers are governed and oversawn and deal with. But if you look at this, it's a free for all. And those of us that are in the business realize that, right? It's a whole ordeal. Now, appraisers, I love you. I absolutely love you. And quite frankly, I hate your job. I would hate to do your job. But they are governed by a criteria of guidelines. And just because it says $300,000 on the contract, if the seller of another property right around the corner that's just like it sold for $280 and had 100 more square feet, and there's 3 other properties right around the corner in that same scenario, it can't be $300. It's just impossible. And that's all about the criteria that appraisers utilize in their box, right? And they'll do their best to get it. Appraisers aren't the devil. You could quote me on that. They are absolutely not the problem in most cases. Now, there are some that are better than others, just like that's why you use Mike and Donnie, because some loan officers suck at what they do, right?
That's all walks of life, all things. Some people are great and some people aren't. That's just how it works.
But it's not that they're just trying to piss you off. I'm sorry, that's cussing.
It's okay. Hey, we're on the internet, bro. You can say whatever you want.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We're not on ABC yet. No. But at the end of the day, it's literally them trying to work within their guidelines based on what your new neighbors have sold their house for. So long-winded answer, but.
Well, but I think, so I agree with you. All of that is 100% accurate. However, I want to get back to the core of the question. Why does the appraiser get to have an opinion? Why can't they just sell it to the buyer for what the buyer is willing to pay? Why can't they do that?
You want a simple answer?
Yeah.
Save your money up and pay cash for your house, and you don't have to think about it.
There you go. There's the answer. The answer is because so let's go back to the shoe scenario, right? So, hey, Donnie, I love your sneakers. I want to buy them. They're vintage Jordans, whatever. You bought them for $100, but I'm going to pay you $500. And this other guy wants to pay you $400, but I'm going to give you $500, right? Beautiful. Love the white shoe, by the way.
These are Air Jordans, by the way. My
really?
media guy, Jamie Nixon, I'll tag him in this video, got them for me for Christmas. Sorry, $100.
I may have to get some. I'm thinking about some old school K-Swiss. I've been thinking about it, but I'm not even a shoe guy. But anyway, so I'm willing to give you $500. However, I don't have $500, so I've got to go to my neighbor and borrow the $500 from him to buy your shoes. So because of that, now that neighbor gets to have an opinion on how much those shoes are worth, right?
You nailed
and that's
that.
what it
you
is.
Nailed that.
The bank gets to have an opinion because you're borrowing the money. Okay, so we get to have a say. Now, the downside, and this is, I think, and you touched on it a little bit when you were talking about it, but when we talk about appraisals, they're always going to be behind the market. I don't know any scenario in which appraisers are ahead of the market, because you can't be, because everything is based off of past information. So when you do an appraisal, you're looking up sales. You're not looking up listings. You're not looking up future sales. You're looking up past sales. So all you have to go off of is what has already occurred. So in that case, if the neighborhood hasn't caught up, or if we're on an escalating, or which we're on an appreciating market that keeps going up, then you're not going to get the top end of the value because there's nothing to support it from history. Now, the good news is that the next person that buys the house in that neighborhood is going to be able to take advantage of your appraisal that was probably a little bit higher than what sold before. Like all these things, it all compounds on top of each other. But at the end of the day, it is, it's their opinion. Like you said, it's subjective in a lot of cases, but all they have to go off of is previous data. And if that previous data says that, these houses sold for this much, then that's what it's worth. And again, does that mean if I offer $425 on a house and the appraisal comes in at $400, does that mean I can't pay $425? No. You can absolutely pay $425, but you got to have $25,000, right, in order to do that. The appraisal came in at $400, you got to make up the difference. So those appraisal values, and it is a struggle right now because I do think, again, we're in such a appreciating market and it's going so rapidly, and housing is at limited supply. And we'd kind of talked earlier about maybe discussing, there's a new plan going through about first-time home buyer credits and trying to get people more incentivized to buy houses. I think we need to incentivize builders to build more houses, because our problem is not having enough people to buy houses. Our problem is having enough houses for people to buy. And the fact that, wood is 5 times more expensive than it used to be.
It's weird. Like wood, like trees cost more. This is so weird.
Well, have you seen, I don't know, there's a lot of I don't know if you're on TikTok or if you pay attention to any of these little YouTube videos and clips, but there's all these, it's funny now, you'll see like construction guys and they're all like having those bling videos where they're like, oh, I got money. And they're showing like plywood, like, check it out. Like,
I got this money.
Right.
Well, okay, so let's add kind of 1B to your 1A of appraisal values. And let's talk just a little bit about 1B, which to me would be along the lines of appraisal process and turn times and when you should expect it and what an appraiser goes through to come up with appraisal. And look, we're not here to defend or condemn appraisers at all, but there is a process involved in we order an appraisal, right? And if you'll look at this little thing on here, it says third-party oversight, right? So we have a group of in our business, and some people go through a whole nother organization, but due to Home Value Code of Conduct, short for HVCC, we have to be kind of round robin on how we order appraisals. So we go to our third party, we request an appraisal. It goes out to the appraisers, and it's a supply and demand situation in the appraisal market in that, because people say, how much is an appraisal? Like, God knows. I mean, who knows what it's like, a bidding war. It's like shipping. Is it shipping wars that they bid on how much it's going to cost to get from point A? It's kind of like a bidding situation where they say, look, I know your due date is 10 days from now, right? They come back and say, look, I can do 14 days, but it's going to be $600. Right. And then
who's got 12 days, $500, 12 days. 12 days.
But at the end of the day, That's economics, right? Because if you'll notice, Mike, would you say you did close to twice as many units in 20 than you did 19? Is that a pretty good number?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, by the way, it takes a long time to get in the appraisal business.
Yes.
We didn't double the amount of appraisers during that time. So they are Mandy says I need Botox up here. That was a squirrel moment, but I really do. This is horrible. Sorry. So
hey, look at this guy. What do you think? This
do
is
your
smooth,
eyebrows
baby.
up.
Smooth.
Do your eyebrows up. Okay, that's pretty good. You're younger than I am.
Not much.
We didn't double the amount of appraisers during that time. So you call an appraiser, they're looking for the appraisal. Where the heck's what's the holdup or whatnot? And they're just, coffee for sure. They're drinking coffee at 10 o'clock at night trying to get reports out and whatnot. It's definitely been a struggle for them. And by the way, if you're young and in this business and maybe real estate or mortgage or whatever is not working out, go and team up with an appraiser and get your appraiser's license. You have to do a little tag team like a junior appraiser for a while, like 2 years.
I think it takes is it 2 or 3 years to become an actual full-blown appraiser?
2 to 4, whatever. Nevertheless,
Yeah.
you're going to make money during that time. It's not like it's a free intern or anything, but
No.
What a great business to go into because the beauty of appraisers is you don't really have to make the phone ring. You literally, because that's in our business, there are really good loan officers that go broke every day because they suck at making the phone ring, right? They're not doing the Mike and Donnie show, kind of deal. They're not out creating smiley faces so people call them back the next time. So that would be a great business to go into. But there is a process. They have to contact the borrower, line it up with their schedule, and they're like, "Yeah, man, sorry, I can't go out there because Sally, she's not going to be home till next Tuesday," and all that is along with it.
Well, and then throw COVID in the mix, where you got strangers running through your house, and you're
with your hazmat suit on. And I had one couple that said, "Donnie, I really want that 2.5 interest rate, whatever, but nobody's coming in my house."
Yeah, no, we had the same. I had several people that I had a borrower his wife had gone through some cancer treatment, and she was immune compromised,
right.
And he didn't want some stranger coming through the house, and I totally understood it. And there are options sometimes, because we talked about how do you get out of an appraisal. Well, I will tell you the best way to do it when you're buying is to put down 20%. If you can put down 20%, you can have a chance to get rid of to not have to have an appraisal. But then they have something called a 2055, which is like an exterior where it's like a drive-by. You drive by, you get some pictures. Well, that was working for a while, but then now you've got investors and Fannie and Freddie that are kind of going, yeah, we don't really like that. We don't want a 2050. We want you to go in. We want pictures. We want to know what's happening, especially, and it's become an even bigger issue here in Texas because recently, and now we're a couple months past, but how we can't ever forget when it gets cold. We had our little, winter Armageddon that we had here a couple months back, and that caused homes to be considered disaster areas and had to get stuff rechecked. So and appraisers have to do all of this. So it's not just appraising the property. They've also got to go, if it's a new build, they got to go redo it again because you didn't get your certificate of occupancy. There's all these steps, and like you were saying, Donnie, they don't just grow on trees. You don't just get a new appraiser and it's like, boom, there you go. You got yourself an appraisal. We're all good. Like, it doesn't work that way. So,
the biggest thing in all this is, we are in a increasing market, right? So our houses are appreciating, but it's all about the lender essentially. You're paying for the appraisal, but you're paying for it because you're asking for money and the lender really wants the appraisal. All of this has to do with making sure that they're not caught in a bad situation if you don't pay your mortgage, right? They want you to pay your mortgage. They hope you do. And they're pretty sure they're going to. That's why they're getting their pay stubs and all that stuff. But if you don't pay your mortgage and you're getting a 96.5% FHA loan, they're cutting the bacon pretty thin as far as being able to get out of that deal if you quit paying. And by the way, whether they underwrite you and get your pay stubs and check your assets and verify your employment and whatnot, there's X amount of people that are not going to pay. There's something that's going to happen that's you're not going to pay your mortgage. Which, by the way, Mike, I just had a thought of next time we get together and do this is talk about the potential wave of foreclosures when unemployment changes, when they cease the whatever rent and payment and all that stuff, and all the forbearance and whatnot. Yeah. We are seeing the potential for a large wave of foreclosures coming down the pipe.
Yeah, maybe. I do want to talk about that because I do think there's a little bit of maybe not as big of a problem as we think. And because here's what I think on that, just real quick, and I think we can talk about that in greater depth another time, is that even if there was a decent amount of foreclosures that came on the market because of this, because there will be some, right? Of course, this is going to happen. But I still think it just barely puts a dent in the inventory that we need to get back to like a normal balanced market where you're not having sellers dominate the market, because that's what it is right now. If you're a seller, you get pretty much whatever you want. I had somebody the other day, they were asking me about, because a lot of people are in that situation where they want to sell their house, right? But they want to buy, but they need the equity in their home to be able to put down in the new house, right? And there's a lot of ways you can do this, and give Donnie and I a call. We'll explain to you all the ninja moves on that. But in their case, I said, look, the great news is you're selling your house, and their house was, going to be listed at like 230 or 250, which is like, you're going to have 25 offers in a weekend. So as part of that, you can say, look, I'll sell you my house. You win the bid, but I need a 30-day lease back because I need to go get into my next house and be able to close and have the cash. And that's the kind of leverage sellers have right now, that they can pretty much, demand whatever they want, especially at certain price points, because there's so much competition.
Well, I mean, you're exactly right, Mike. And, that's probably a full episode subject right there. But at the end of the day, this is a evolving market. We're dealing with, not things like we did in 08, 09, where it was a major explosion, because Mike and I will tell you, we are making good loans.
Two ignorant humans talking about stuff.